Today, we're diving into a powerful short story, one written way back in the 1870s that, honestly, feels more relevant than ever. It's all about a young boy, a single classroom, and the one day their entire world got turned upside down. So let's break down the last lesson and its timeless message about what we stand to lose when we take the most important things for granted. I want you to just think about this for a second. Imagine waking up one morning and being told that the language you've always spoken, the one you think in, dream in, is now forbidden. Just gone. How would that actually feel? It's a huge question, and it's the absolute heart of the story we're exploring. And this is our guy, Franz. He's our main character, and look, like a lot of kids, he's not exactly thrilled about school. But on this specific day, he is about to walk into a lesson he will never, ever forget. And it all starts on his way to class. So the story kicks off with Franz just walking to school. But right away, he gets this feeling in his gut that something is off. The world around him just doesn't sound or feel the way it's supposed to. Okay, so Franz's day starts out pretty much like any other. He's running late, he's terrified of getting yelled at by his teacher, Monsieur Hamel, especially because there's a test on partisans and, he hasn't studied at all. Honestly, the chirping birds and the Prussian soldiers drilling in the field nearby seem way more fun. He even thinks, hey, maybe I'll just skip school today. Now, normally, when Franz got close to the school, he could hear the noise from way down the street, what the story calls a great bustle. The sound of desks opening and closing, kids shouting their lessons together. But today, nothing. Just silence. A really unnerving, strange kind of quiet. See, Franz was actually counting on all that usual chaos to sneak into class without anyone noticing. But yeah, that plan was definitely not going to work today. The story nails it with this description. It wasn't just quiet. It was as quiet as a Sunday morning. But here's the thing. The school wasn't empty. And that's what made it so creepy. Something was just deeply, profoundly wrong. So let's head into the classroom, because this is where it all comes together. Franz finally gets to the door, all nervous and out of breath, totally expecting to get in trouble. But what he finds inside is even more shocking than the quiet outside. The scene in there is just weird. First off, his teacher, Mr. Hamel, is wearing his best clothes. We're talking a fancy green coat, frilly shirt, the whole deal. He only ever wore that stuff for special occasions. And even stranger, sitting quietly in the back on the benches that are always empty, are the village elders, the old mayor, the postmaster. Everyone looks incredibly serious and just sad. And then, Hamel makes the announcement that explains everything. In this very calm, grave voice, he tells them it's their last French lesson. An order has come from Berlin, from the new rulers, that from now on only German will be taught in their schools. For Franz, these words hit him like a thunderclap, and suddenly it all made sense. So this is the reality of it, this sudden, brutal shift. Just yesterday, their world was French. Their teacher was Mr. Hamel. By tomorrow, it's all going to be German. A new teacher, a new master was arriving the very next day. That shock quickly melts away and turns into this really powerful, shared feeling that just fills the whole room. Regret. And it's not just the students who feel it, not by a long shot. In that one instant, Franz's entire perspective just flips. He is suddenly overwhelmed with sorrow for all the times he blew off his lessons to go chase birds' eggs. His books, which just that morning felt like this heavy burden, now feel like old friends that he's about to lose forever. Then, Hamel starts to speak, and it's not with anger, but with this sense of shared blame. He says they all have things to be sorry for. The students, for always thinking, whatever, I'll learn it tomorrow. The parents, for wanting your kids to work on a farm to earn a little extra money instead of being in school. And he even blames himself, the teacher, for sometimes sending them off to water his flowers or calling off class when he wanted to go fishing. And from that place of shared regret, Hamel turns to the subject of the lesson itself, the French language. And he starts talking about it with a passion and a love that none of his students had ever heard from him before. He calls French the most beautiful, the clearest, the most logical language in the entire world. And then he says this, and really, this is the core message of the whole story. He says that language is so much more than just words. For people who've been conquered, holding on to their language is a form of resistance. It's the key to who they are, and ultimately, it's the key to their freedom. And then, this little miracle happens. As Franz listens, truly listens, for the very first time in his life, he gets it. He understands everything. The grammar that was always so confusing to him suddenly seems simple. And that right there is the real tragedy, isn't it? On the very last day he finally discovers how much he loves to learn, just as that chance is being ripped away from him. In the middle of the lesson, Franz hears some pigeons cooing up on the roof, and he has this incredibly powerful thought. It's a kid's question, but it's so deep. He's asking, can you really force a new identity onto everything? Can you command nature itself to change its language? It just perfectly captures the absurdity and the cruelty of it all. So the lesson goes on with everyone in that room, from the little kids to the old men in the back, hanging on every single word. The air is just thick with emotion as the clock on the wall ticks closer and closer to the end. And then the moment comes. The church clock strikes 12. At that exact same second, the trumpets of the Prussian soldiers sound from outside, a loud, brassy reminder of their new reality. Hamel stands up. He looks pale and taller than Franz has ever seen him, but he's so choked up with emotion he can't get a single word out. Since he can't speak, he turns to the blackboard. He grabs a piece of chalk, and with all the strength he has left, he writes 2 words as large as he possibly can. Vive la France. Long live France. It's his final, silent, powerful act of defiance. He doesn't say anything else. He just leans his head against the wall and, without looking at them, makes a gesture with his hand. The last lesson is over. An entire era has just ended. And so, the last lesson leaves us with that huge question. It's a timeless reminder that language isn't just another subject in school. It's the lifeblood of a culture, it's the key to our identity, and it's a freedom that, let's be honest, we often don't appreciate until it's threatened. It really makes you think, doesn't it? What parts of our own culture are we taking for granted right now?